We're now live, it says.
Now going.
Okay, so
We're now live.
Yes, so we're here for our second webcast. We're now calling our webcast Ministry Down Under webcast. So we've officially got a name, so that's great. I'm here with Karen Stuckey today,
Indeed.
and we're going to be talking about church accounting and finance today. So we've got Cecil Benjamin here as well. Hi, Cecil.
Hi. Hi, Chris. Hi, Karen.
Hi. Okay.
Hello. Yeah, Cecil's from Benkorp, and he's had plenty of experience in the church with finance, and having been ordained in the Uniting Church for quite a few number of years. Plus, he's had experience doing missionary work as well. So he's been an accountant for a while and has lots of business expertise and many hints and ideas. And he's joining us from Sydney. Welcome, Cecil.
Hi, Karen. Hi, everybody. It's good to be with you. Glad to be able to share some of what we know and some of what we do with everybody, particularly in the churches. Our passion is to help churches with their finance.
Fantastic. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. When it comes to finance or maths, my brain goes into freeze mode. I'm not gifted at finance or accounting, that side of things. So I struggle to turn with terms and so forth, and trying to keep up with what's happening these days with the government's changes and regulations. It's just a headache for me. So I'm going to keep this as simple, plain language as I can for me and some others.
So that's okay.
So starting with the basics of church finance, I guess now more than ever, church finances need to be more portable, since we're all working from, or most of us are working from home or, remote areas. How can churches do this? How can churches set up their financial office remotely when they're not working in the church office?
Yeah, and this has been going on for quite a while. It's not just Corona affected. It's been going on for a long time. And we've been doing church accounts for like 20 years or more. And in a remote way, we've been working for the last 8 years. Once we changed to zero accounting, it's made it much easier for people to be able to do their accounting remotely. So there may or may not be somebody at the church office. It doesn't necessarily have to happen anymore, because a lot of the transactional information, invoices and all of that kind of documentation is all sent by email or downloaded, and so can be centralized and fed directly into the Xero data file. So what we do is we help a church set up their Xero accounting system, and then because Xero can receive the documents, or the digital documents directly, then the person can work very remotely. The bank statements are downloaded automatically, and you can keep the accounts up to date like all the time, which is so much better than before anyway, because with the paper, you had to go somewhere to deal with the paper, pick it up or handle it or whatever. And then you had to, manually enter it and all of that. Now you don't have to do that. So most of the data entry, so to speak, is imported. So the bank transactions are imported, the invoices, the bill payments and all of that are imported. The only things that are done a lot up until recently is, the offerings on Sunday. We've got a special process. We teach people how to enter in the plate offerings and all of that. But now we're teaching people how to deal with online giving. So whether it's credit card or direct deposit or, direct payment to the church, that can all be handled directly in Xero as well. So in a really strange and ironic way, this is really good for church treasurers and bookkeepers because everybody's going to have to give or is giving online. So that makes it the portability that you're talking about, and paperless. It's all there. So we actually do, our company Benkorp does the bookkeeping for about 20 or 30 churches.
Yeah.
And we operate remotely. We never go near the church except, you know, for an occasional special meeting or something. But otherwise, everything's done online.
Wow. Amazing times of technology.
Yes. So you too can do it, Karen.
Oh, I know. I can do basic.
Yeah, we do our books on Xero as well. So yeah, it's very easy to use, and yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Product.
Yeah, that's
Great program.
and the treasurers. One of the things that we find is that treasurers, oh, I'm too old, or I've been doing it on Excel or some other system for a long time. One of the good things about this is that we provide the training online and support. And it's like, as Chris said, it's really easy to pick up. And so it's easier to hand over to a new treasurer. So at the moment, a lot of churches have been having their AGMs and there's changeover in treasurers. So it's easy now with Xero to hand over from the old treasurer to new treasurer. And if the new treasurer is not sure, then they can just contact us and, you know, we'll provide either some direct training or just a little bit of support. So that's made life very easy for church finance.
Yes, it would. So once the churches have set up their basic system and they've got everything loaded, their balancing books, and one thing that came in, was it last year or the year before, with the new payroll system?
STP last year.
Last year. How do the churches approach doing this payroll? Because it could be pretty tricky, and a lot of people get confused on how to do it.
Well, and that's understandable because payroll is probably the most, when we find that's the most complicated area of an accounting system because there's so many variations. And so even with ordinary employees, that's non-ministers, you know, they might be paid differently, different hours, different days of the week or the month and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the ministers have special way of being paid. Now, Xero also handles this really easy. There's a payroll function in Xero. And most of our church clients do their own payroll. And so, you know, we teach them how to do that. So you have to set up the basics, the parameters of the payroll, like the payroll system, so to speak. What are the basics? And, you know, like what super funds and where the money's going to come from, which bank accounts and so on. Then you set up each individual employee with the sort of the pay agreement, so to speak, of how they're going to be paid, hourly, weekly, monthly, or whatever, so that Xero can then work out the pay and their tax scale. Of course, you put in their tax details. Now, that's another benefit is when you load in their tax file declaration, you can automatically upload it directly to the ATO. So you don't have to fill out the silly form and put it in the mail, you know, the old pink form, and send that off. Now you just load it automatically up to the ATO. And that's one of the reasons why they're able to offer these new benefits, the stimulus package so easily, is that everything's already at the ATO. And at the year end, it's the same. And for STP, everything's uploaded automatically out of Xero, provided you're the authorised person, directly into the ATO.
Yep.
Now, for ministers, you're probably going to ask about ministers' payroll because it is a bit complicated. So they most ministers get a basic stipend, and then they get a fringe benefit allowance, often called a ministry expense allowance or a non-cash benefit, which is treated differently because it's not taxed. Now, some churches and some denominations have different percentages of those two things, but that doesn't matter. You enter that information into Xero, and then you run do each pay run, and you pay the ministers according to whatever agreement is. One of the things that I need to say is that you must the church must have a contract agreement, payroll agreement with the minister, or should with all employees, but with the minister beginning each financial year or every time they change pay. One of the things we find is that they say, oh, the minister's just got another 5%, or whatever they've done at the payroll, and that's that. That's not good enough. There needs to be an agreement, like a documentation of the payroll, because when it comes to doing the payroll, you need to be clear about what's stipend and what's non-cash benefits. And as you can imagine, that's really important, because then you'll start to talk about, okay, what can the minister claim and what they can't claim out of their stipend or out of their non-cash benefit. And so what can they claim for the church, you know, for like reimbursements and so on. So somebody actually asked me yesterday, what about the ministers he gets reimbursed for, you know, he's bought stationery or, you know, something for the church office. Is that included in his payroll? Well, of course it's not. But that's how confusion can happen, because the minister's name can quite often appear on a lot of different things. So we have to be very careful. You follow that?
Yes. Yep.
Churches are using the expenses part of Xero much, or is it more the accountants doing things like that later?
No, some are. It depends on how the minister does his or her cash benefits. Because some churches, because of the way it was set up when this first came in around 2000, you know, are still making the minister fill out an expense claim and all that sort of stuff for their non-cash benefits. Well, that's old hat. You don't need to do that. Never did, really. The minister can have a credit card, a special kind of credit card where you can't get cash. And so it's all managed through the credit card, or at least the minister should have a designated bank account so that it's easy to manage and easy for the minister to access and get a counter signature if they need. But the credit card system is the best. And there are some banks like Bendigo Community Bank that have a really good service for ministers' non-cash benefits. Really simple to operate. Most of the big banks do, but we just find the community banks really simple, easy to deal with people. They sort of know what's going on because they're community banking.
So you're talking credit unions, or you're talking Bendigo Bank, or what are you talking when you're talking community?
They've got an arm called the Community Bank.
Yep. Okay, cool. The other thing I was going to say is, if people have got, we'd love to know what people are using for their finance systems as well. So put a comment in the comments if you're online, and we'd love to know.
The chat box would be good.
Cool.
And fringe benefits is one big thing with pastors. What are some fringe benefits items that pastors can claim for?
Well, the first thing that a lot of ministers have got to be cognizant of, be aware of, is what does their denomination, does it have any guidelines? Because not all denominations are the same. Like, they don't all give the same percentage for the non-cash benefit fringe benefits, right? Some are 30, some are 50, and there are some churches that give 100%. So then what are the guidelines by that denomination about what can be claimed? And some of them have different sort of guidelines or rules, I suppose. But basically most things they can claim, especially if it's anything to do with their operating as a minister. So they'll have their things to do with entertaining, anything to run their own, anything they do to run their ministry. You know, all their car expenses, entertainment, all their internet meetings, if they go travel, if they can justify that the trip is for something to do with ministry, you know, like observing or training or seminars or anything like that, all of that kind of thing. And that is where the church doesn't pay. So the church might, you know, the elders or the leaders of the church might decide they want to send the minister to a conference in Perth or, you know, overseas. You know, well, obviously the church will pay. And so it's best if that doesn't go through the minister. But if they give the minister an allowance, then it needs to be decided whether that's part of the fringe benefit allowance or it's an extra thing that they've given the minister to claim a reimbursement against. So it's not really that tricky. It's just a matter of being careful. So the church where the minister is based needs to have its own guidelines. This is how we're going to run non-cash benefits or fringe benefits. This is what we're going to do. And so that it's clear for the minister, the treasurer, and sort of the congregation, because the congregation, you know, they see the minister getting a percentage of their total package tax-free. So they want to make sure that, or the congregation not want to make sure, but they want to be sure that the minister is getting the benefit that they're entitled to. I think one of the reasons that ministers are privileged in this way is because they provide a great service to the community. And so the church doesn't have to pay such huge gross salaries. They can get this portion tax-free, and it's a way of sort of the community subsidising through the tax system the churches being able to employ ministers. Because if we didn't have this, there'd be a lot of churches that would never be able to afford a minister.
That's very true.
So we encourage this. Like we always encourage the elders, the leaders of the church, to really look after their minister by the way they package the salary and how they manage it. Make it easy for the minister to get the fringe benefit. Don't make him go through, or him or her, sorry, but don't make the minister go through too many hoops to get the money back. You know, the claiming. That's why the credit card system is so good, because there's no hoops to go through. The only thing then is the claiming of the GST. So when the BAS is being done, the church can claim back the GST on what the minister has spent. And we have forms. You can go on our website and see we have forms for all that kind of thing. And so some churches choose to keep the GST themselves, or they repay it to the minister.
Wow.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that is really good. That makes sense. Some great tips there. One thing that a lot of churches missed out or got confused with was when the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission came out, and churches were confused. Do I sign up with them? Do I not sign up with them? Can you explain why churches need to be signed up with them if they need to be?
I think this is not directly ANC. I'll get to the ANC thing in a moment. But I think what's going on at the moment with the government and the stimulus package and the whole corona environment is that it highlights that churches need to do things properly. A lot of churches try to skimp and save and do things on the cheap, you know, by not employing people properly, you know, like especially the cleaner or the janitor or the verger or whatever they call those people in your church or in a church. You know, we've just given them a donation and stuff. And now they can't afford to do that because they don't have as much money. But now they can't claim the new benefits, subsidies, because they're not on the payroll on the books. And the same for the ACNC. If churches need to register, because as Christians, we're meant to abide by the law of the land. And that's a requirement of the law of this land, is that all charities, including churches, must be registered. So it's pretty straightforward, really. You just go and register, go online and register. And that's pretty simple. And then you just have to file an annual return. Churches don't have to submit, an ordinary church doesn't have to submit, depending on the constitution, a set of financial statements every year. But that depends on the structure and the incorporation, how the church is actually incorporated. Certainly mainline denominations, they don't have to do that because it's all handled through the head office. But the individual churches all have to be registered with the ACNC.
Yep, I was going to say as well, services like I run Go Register, and we use that register to work out if you deserve a charity discount or not. So that just gives us a yes or no flag to tell us if you're definitely registered, and that just gives us some assurity that you're not just looking for a discount for no reason as well. So
I imagine other companies and stuff like Xero and so on that offer charity discounts would probably use the same register. I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's true.
we deal with churches directly, so it doesn't really matter to us. We deal direct. So we know we know churches.
Yeah, well, most of our customers are churches or Christian not-for-profits anyway. So,
Right.
like, we just give them a discount through the door. So,
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. But I think the main thing, Karen, is that, you know, as Christians, we're meant to abide by the law, and we should be doing that in every area, including finance. The number of churches who come, you know, looking to set up their accounting system and so on, we say, oh, what's this cleaning expense over here? Or what's this hospitality expense? Or, you know, other sort of, they try and hide these things. And we find out they're paying somebody to do something. You go, come on, you've got to go on the payroll, you know? And now they're going, it's going to come back to bite them because they won't be able to claim any benefits. But in the first place, they should be doing it properly. And the other thing about that is that those people who are doing those odd jobs around the church, you know, some of them are not odd, you know what I mean, they are paying reasonable sort of money, is they're not covered by insurance. So if the person falls over on the broom or whatever they're using, there's no way they're going to claim. And if the volunteer insurance finds out they're not really a volunteer, they're being paid, well, then they're going to get in double trouble. So let's all be doing things properly. That's what we encourage. So it doesn't take much for us to talk with the church, the treasurer and so on, and help them to realise, yeah, we really do need to be doing the right thing. And so we're really happy when people do change and realise it's best to do things properly. And the other thing is it makes the bookkeeping and accounting much simpler, because when you hand over to the new treasurer, you don't have to say, oh, Mary and Fred, they get everything for free and this one's done this and that, you know. So let's do everything properly.
Yeah, and it would be great for treasurers to actually touch base with you, because some have been doing it for 10, 20 years and just done it the same way over and over again without realising there are new rules and guidelines and money that they can get access to.
Yes.
Like with the coronavirus, so everything that's happening now, how can a church benefit with what the government's handing out and making available right now?
Well, the first thing I can recommend is that people look at our website, benkorp.com, and go to the blogs. We've written up 2 blogs just very recently, updated last night, on how the churches can get in touch with these benefits, what benefits are available and how to claim, and to figure out how much, well, you don't actually claim, but how much you're going to get. So the first thing to realise is that churches are included in the package. All churches and not-for-profits are included in the stimulus package. So the benefits flow if you're employing people. So here comes. If you've been employing that person as a cleaner, but you haven't been declaring them as a wage, then you're not going to get any benefit. But if you have been getting Mary or Fred or someone to do the cleaning and paying them, and you're treated them an employee, well, they're entitled to the benefit. So that the benefits go to the employer, that's the church, not to the employee. This is the cash boost. And the best thing to do is to look at our website or go to the ATO, but there's a link on our website to the ATO page that's specifically about the cash boost. That's the first part of the stimulus package that's been announced in 2 parts. And the last part was the weekend before last. And so we've just finished updating on that because it takes a while to get through all this stuff. It's complicated. And you'll see in our post yesterday, there's actually explanation of how to do it. Plus there's a link to a calculator. Now, one of our Xero associates developed a calculator which has sort of been approved, been really well tested. So you can put in your PAYG. This is the church we're talking about. You can put in your PAYG that normally goes through on your BAS, whether it's monthly or quarterly, and it will help you calculate your entitlement.
Wow.
So the entire, yeah, it's great. It's been really
It's
good.
good.
Until that, we were doing it manually ourselves, and I'd worked out sort of a formula, but
Yep.
much better when you get an instant thing, calculator.
Is
It
that
is.
blog? Is that blog post the post you've just put below in the comments? Is that the one? The cash boost one on the Benkorp website. I'm assuming that's the one you've
Media
just been
load
talking about. Yep.
Is it?
One of the team.
Goes
Yeah,
to our blog?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
the one. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's down in the comments if
Our
anyone
media
wants.
person, and she's done that. Thanks,
Yep.
Dylan.
So fantastic.
So, we've actually got a question in our comments. Patrick has asked, at our AGM, many churches got a bit confused during the financial report around depreciation. How we have a depreciation number on the books, but churches don't pay depreciation.
Well, that's a good segue too, because we did a post just recently on this, because it's with the AGMs and churches doing their finances. It has become an issue. We didn't realise it was such an issue, because we've been doing some startup, starting from scratch, and the church has fixed assets and depreciation on the books. Well, the first thing is, for a church, you don't need to do that. There's no point, because churches don't pay tax. The reason companies have assets and depreciation is because they can't, in a company, you can't write off an asset straight away. Although under the new rules, they're quite flexible, up to 50,000 or something, 100,000 they can write off. But churches have no real reason to do fixed assets and depreciation. So that's the first thing. So if it's on the books, then best to figure out how to get it off the books, and to find a better way, because depreciation doesn't do anything. It's only for tax purposes. It's a way of creating an expense for an old expenditure. It doesn't create cash. So we've found churches, we've got a lot in depreciation, and so we look at the bank balance, and there's hardly anything there, for a big expenditure. So you've been wasting your time. So people think that because they've created a provision or depreciation, they've got money ready to do a new development or a big repair or something. That's false. It's living in a dream. It's better, and as I said when we wrote the article, a better way is to do your budgeting better. The only way to have money in the bank is to budget for it and to save. So there needs to be probably a bank account set aside, saving for something or other, or just saving for the next big thing that will come along. And then that becomes part of the equity of the church, equity being the stakeholders' funds. Do you understand that? It's not too
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So you've got to have money in the bank, and depreciation doesn't create money in the bank. All it is it's a mechanism that was created long time ago to enable companies, businesses, to write off assets over a long period of time. So if you spent $100,000 on a new building, but on a new something or other for your church, new lot of pews or something for your church, then you would have written it off. But these days, if you buy the pews, you've got to have the money in the bank, or you get a loan, right? So depreciating it over a long period of time doesn't make sense. Whereas a business, they spend $100,000 this year. Well, the tax department's not going to let them claim that whole 100,000 in one go. They'll say, you've got to write this off over 5 years. So they take that and take $20,000 year by year against their P&L, profit and loss. Churches don't need to do that. So if you're in a church, and Patrick, and you've been doing that, then you can contact me and we talk about how to do it. But basically, it's better to get it off your books and look at your budgeting and look at your cash situation. I hope that helps.
The other thing I was going to ask was about there's a lot of people doing ministry, like in their own ministry, like a sole trader type ministry.
Yes.
Have you got any advice for them in this time, like with these the cash injections and the extra things the government's giving out.
You mean like for us, don't you, Chris?
Yeah, well, for us. And many others out
Yeah,
there.
for us.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds self-seeking, but that's not why I asked. Like, because I know we're in an okay position at the moment, but there's many other people that can't go out, or they're trying to find places to preach online because they can't go to churches at the moment and things like that, or other things like that. So,
well, the first thing they need to do, people like that, is if they're preaching online generally, then they need to find a way of getting a donation box on their whatever however they stream. If they're preaching specifically, which you can do to a congregation, like you might be a guest preacher at a church in wherever somewhere, then they need to have a way of collecting a love offering for you or giving you a donation or something. I think those kinds of things that churches and ministries have always done, there's no reason why we still can't do it. It's just online, that's all. So you can have guests and still pay them. That's the way businesses operate.
yeah. But that was, okay.
For the so-called self-employed ones, in the new package for job keeping, there is a section in there for which I've only just been researching today because it's only just come out. You need to go to, we'll put up a link, and Lorraine might be able to do this, to that it's Job Keeper, it's called, on the ATO, on the government website. And that provides some facility for sole traders, which also would include sole ministry people.
Yep.
The other thing is, if you've been in a sole trader situation and you're not actually paying yourself as an employee, well, then you're covered. Well, you could be covered by those provisions. Otherwise, you've got to go out and apply for New Start.
Which is job seeker now, I think they call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about the government and all their offers they have for us, the stimulus package, does that have anything to do with the church?
Absolutely, it does, because most churches employ somebody, the minister and or others, and so it's covered. So you should look at the our blog on which covers this.
Yep.
And the one that yes. So the stimulus package at the moment is in like two main things. One's called Cash Boost, and we've got a detailed write-up on that on our blog. And that's the one where the church will get a credit in its activity statement account with the ATO, according to the PAYG that it's paid, or that it will be liable to pay in the March quarter.
Fantastic.
All right. And so the rest of the package, the Cash Boost package that flows from that, is based on that first entitlement.
Okay.
Now, the church doesn't get the cash unless its activity statement is in credit. So if for some reason it's not in credit, then it will be netted against that. So if there's a church got a big outstanding BAS that it owes, then it may not get any money. But chances are, with most churches, that they will get the money. So after they lodge their BAS, and it all happens automatically, they could end up with a cash deposit in their bank account after that's settled at the ATO, so that you don't apply for anything, you don't have to fill out any forms or anything like that. It happens.
Right.
But there is that calculator I mentioned before on the blog on our website. So the church treasurers are ringing us now. How much are we going to get and all this sort of stuff. So that's why we're trying to keep ahead of the game by, doing these blogs. So the second part of the stimulus package we've just talked about, as well as this Job Keeper one, which is helping to keep the staff. So you can get up to $1,500 a fortnight for staff people if necessary. So you have to prove, now this is the problem for churches, you have to prove that the income has gone down by, the turnover, the income has gone down by 30% since this time last year. Now, if the church hasn't been declaring its income on its BAS, it's a bit hard to prove you've gone down by 30%. So, and that's something to do with the way churches have reported their offerings, whether they've been reporting them as free or exempt from GST and all of that. So the church would have to look at the way it's doing its best. I mean, it's too late now, but this shows how people should have been thinking about all this kind of stuff all the time. You can't, like you said before, just because it's been done this way for the last 20 years doesn't mean the way we should be doing things, you know, when it's over a job. So anyway, we've learned.
Yep.
So I hope churches do take advantage of this, and if they need help, you know, send us an email. It's the quickest.
Yes, Cecil is your man.
Well, our team is not necessarily.
The team. Behind every great man's a great team.
Well, my wife and I have got a good team. It's our business, Jeanette Corporal, my wife. It's our business. We've been doing this for 25 years. We were pastors together, so, and we've got a good team with us, and we're here to support churches. Yeah, sure.
And Cecil's business is like mine and like Chris's. We all work from remote areas, so we can help you from wherever. But yeah, Cecil and his team, contact them at Benkorp. The link is in the comment section under this streaming post. And yeah, they'll be able to help your church to come out in front financially in following biblical guidelines and the laws of the land, and having God's favor over each one of you. So please do contact Cecil if you do need help, and send your treasurers his way if they need training. Thank you, Cecil.
Terrific. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. I hope it was helpful for you. As I said, if you need anything more, just send us an email, give us a call.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
No worries. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.